The 2010s gave us some of the most hyped draft picks in NBA history. Superstars, busts, redemption arcs, and one pick so bad it still haunts a franchise. From the lightning-fast rise of John Wall, to Kyrie's finals heroics, to Zion's unreal potential trapped in a fragile frame, this is what really happened to every #1 overall pick of the 2010s. The triumphs, the failures, and the what-ifs that still echo across the league. Let's get into it. The decade began in 2010 with Washington holding the #1 pick, and they used it on a point guard who brought both lightning speed and hope to a struggling franchise, John Wall.
With the first pick in the 2010 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select John Wall from the University of Kentucky.
From the jump, Wall's speed was terrifying. He didn't just push the pace, he owned it. With a mix of elite court vision, tenacity, and leadership, he gave Washington something it hadn't had in years: hope. He wasn't just the face of the team, he was the team. Wall became a 5-time All-Star and quickly climbed the franchise record book: most assists, most steals. And more than that, he brought the Wizards back to relevance, guiding them to multiple playoff appearances and one of the most exciting runs in team history. But injuries became the villain in Wall's story. First it was his knee, then an Achilles, then more setbacks. As quick as he was on the court, the injuries seemed to catch up just as fast, and every comeback felt harder than the last. Still, Wall gave fans unforgettable moments. His Game 6 buzzer beater against Boston, legendary.
Gives it to Wall. Working against Bradley for three. John Wall!
The image of him jumping on the scorer's table, arms wide, was more than a celebration. It was a statement. He might not have reached the heights some projected, but he gave DC everything he had. And through it all, the rehab, the trade rumors, the what-ifs, John Wall never stopped showing up for the city that embraced him. He may not be a Hall of Famer, but to Wizards fans, he'll always be a legend.
Oh, what a steal by Wall for the score!
After John Wall reignited DC, the very next year brought another electric point guard into the league, one with jaw-dropping handles and a flair for the dramatic. Kyrie Irving went #1 in 2011.
With the first pick in the 2011 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving from Duke University.
By year 1, he was Rookie of the Year. By year 2, an All-Star. And not long after, he was cooking defenses on a nightly basis with handles that felt straight out of a video game. Kyrie didn't just score, he put on a show, and no matter what you thought about him, you had to watch. But Kyrie's legacy would forever be defined by one moment: NBA Final. Game 7, tie game, 1 minute left. Kyrie isolates. Step back over Steph Curry. Bang.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
The shot that won Cleveland its first championship. A cold-blooded dagger that ended a 3-1 comeback and stunned the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't LeBron, it wasn't Love. It was Kyrie who took and made the biggest shot in Cavs history.
It's over! It's over! Cleveland is a city of champions once again! The Cavaliers are NBA champions!
But after the title, Kyrie's path got turbulent. He left Cleveland to escape LeBron's shadow, then clashed with young stars in Boston. In Brooklyn, he joined forces with KD and Harden, but injuries and off-court drama stole the spotlight. Whether it was missed games, vaccine debates, or controversial statements, Kyrie constantly walked the line between genius and chaos. Still, on the court, his talent never wavered. Few players in NBA history have been as skilled, clutch, and mesmerizing as Kyrie Irving. He may be polarizing, but he's unforgettable.
Kidding me, Kyrie Irving!
With the first pick in the 2012 NBA draft, the New Orleans Hornets select Anthony Davis.
While Kyrie dazzled with his skill and clutch gene, the 2012 draft shifted focus to the front court, where a dominant, defensive phenom named Anthony Davis was ready to change the game. A national champion with Kentucky, a defensive force unlike anything we'd seen since maybe Tim Duncan. And in New Orleans, he quickly proved he was legit. Davis was a walking stat sheet, dropping 25 and 12, blocking shots, grabbing boards, hitting mid-range jumpers, even handling the ball like a guard. He made multiple All-Star teams, all NBA honors, and for a stretch looked like the most complete big man in basketball. But New Orleans couldn't capitalize. In 7 seasons, they made the playoffs only twice. The talent around him didn't match his own, and eventually, Davis had enough. He requested a trade, and in 2019, landed in Los Angeles alongside LeBron James.
Look at AD running the floor. LeBron to AD!
instantly turning the Lakers into contenders. And in the 2020 bubble, Davis delivered. He dominated on both ends, knocked down clutch shots, including a walk-off game winner against Denver, and helped bring a championship back to LA.
Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers! Anthony Davis is going to send the Lakers to a 2-0 series lead in the...
But since then, the same pattern has followed him: injury. And every time he's sidelined, the same debate resurfaces. Can you count on Anthony Davis? Because when healthy, he's elite, a top 5 player who can defend, score, and space the floor. But health has been the one thing he's never fully had on his side. Now, in one of the most shocking trades in recent memory, Davis finds himself in Dallas, the centerpiece of a blockbuster deal that sent Luka Doncic to the Lakers in a move that stunned the league. After Anthony Davis proved what a #1 pick should look like, the very next draft gave us one of the most shocking and unfortunate decisions in league history. In 2013, the Cleveland Cavaliers held the top pick, and instead of taking Victor Oladipo, Nerlens Noel, or even Otto Porter, they stunned the NBA world by selecting Anthony Bennett, a power forward out of UNLV who wasn't even a consensus top 5 prospect. The reaction was immediate: confusion, disbelief, even shock.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett of Toronto, Canada, and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
And unfortunately, it only got worse from there. From the start, Bennett looked overwhelmed. He went scoreless in his first 5 games, and by the end of his rookie season, he was averaging just 4 points per game, the lowest ever for a #1 overall pick at the time. Cleveland gave up after just 1 year, and that set the tone for the rest of his career. Minnesota, Toronto, Brooklyn, 4 teams in 4 years. Bennett never averaged more than 5 points, never found a true role, and never looked comfortable on an NBA floor. He tried to bounce back overseas, playing in Turkey, getting G League rep, even signing briefly with the Houston Rockets, but the spark just never returned. Confidence, the conditioning, the rhythm, all gone. Today, Anthony Bennett is widely considered the biggest draft bust in NBA history, not because he didn't work hard, but because the pick never made sense in the first place. Following the Bennett fiasco, Cleveland had another shot in 2014, and this time they went with the most hyped Canadian prospect ever, Andrew Wiggins. A Canadian prodigy with jaw-dropping athleticism, Wiggins had been on scouts' radar since high school, but even before he could suit up for Cleveland, his fate changed. LeBron James returned to the Cavs, and Wiggins was traded to Minnesota in a deal for Kevin Love, the kind of win-now move that instantly shifted expectation. In Minnesota, Wiggins showed flashes. He could score 20 a night with ease, had highlight dunks for days, and even won Rookie of the Year. But over time, the narrative began to shift. The numbers were solid, but something was missing. Critics questioned his motor, his focus, his will. He'd coast through games, disappear for stretches, and too often left fans wanting more. Was he a future star, or just empty stats on a bad team? By 2020, the Timberwolves had seen enough. Wiggins was traded to Golden State, a franchise known for accountability, defense, and basketball IQ. Many thought he'd fade into the background. Instead, he leveled up. With the Warriors, Wiggins reshaped his game. He bought into defense, played with intensity, and took on the toughest perimeter assignments, guarding stars like Luka, Tatum, and even LeBron. And when Golden State made their 2022 title run, Wiggins wasn't just along for the ride, he was essential. In the finals, he averaged over 18 points, pulled down huge rebounds, and played elite defense on Jason Tatum. By the end of that series, he wasn't a draft bust, he was an NBA champion. Andrew Wiggins may never be the superstar people expected in 2014, but in 2022, he became something even more meaningful. A guy who bought in, showed up, and helped his team win it all. Redemption doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it comes with a quiet lockdown on defense and a ring on your finger. While Wiggins eventually found his role in Golden State, his former team in Minnesota doubled down on talent the next year, selecting Karl-Anthony Towns with the first pick in 2015. Towns wasn't the typical big man. He could shoot threes, block shots, handle the ball, and space the floor like a guard, all while standing 7 feet tall. And from the moment he stepped on the court, he delivered. Rookie of the Year, 20 and 10 seasons like clockwork, a big man with a jumper, and a legit one at that. By 2022, he even won the NBA three-point contest, outshooting some of the league's league's best guards and wings. Yeah, a center won the three-point contest. Offensively, Towns has been elite, one of the most skilled scoring bigs in league history, but something's always felt missing. Despite his numbers, team success has been rare in Minnesota. In his first 8 seasons, the Timberwolves made the playoffs just twice and never made it past the first round. Fans and analysts alike began to question, can Cat be the guy who leads a team, or is he just a piece that needs someone else to set the tone? Then came Anthony Edwards. The young star brought swagger, edge, and a takeover mentality that Minnesota had been missing, and while Cat remained a core part of the team, the spotlight started shifting. It became clear this was now Ant's team, and in 2024, everything changed. Towns was traded to the New York Knicks in a blockbuster deal that shook up the Eastern Conference. In New York, he found something he hadn't had in years: structure, support, and a team built to win. Towns played a key role in the Knicks' run to the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals, proving he could contribute meaningfully on a winning team. He wasn't the lone star anymore, but he didn't need to be. He became part of a system that valued his skill set and didn't ask him to do it all alone. Karl-Anthony Towns may never be the franchise savior some expected, but now he's finally showing he can be a franchise piece when the fit is right. As Towns put up big numbers in Minnesota, Philly's trust the process era peaked in 2016 with the selection of a 6'10" point forward who seemed built to change the game, Ben Simmons. With elite court vision, defensive versatility, and transition speed, Simmons was billed as the next LeBron. He could guard all 5 positions, he could run an offense, and when he got downhill, he was nearly unstoppable. After missing his first season with injury, he came back and won Rookie of the Year. Then came the All-Star nods, all defensive team honors. He looked like a cornerstone, a guy you build your franchise around. But as his game evolved, one thing never did: his shooting. Simmons flat out refused to shoot from outside, and as the playoffs rolled around year after year, that hole in his game got harder to ignore. Teams dared him to shoot, they clogged the lane, and then came the moment. Game 7 versus Atlanta, 4th quarter. Simmons drives, has a wide open dunk, and passes it.
Simmons, they cleared out for him. Tapping his way in. Spins on Gallinari, gives it up. Oh, he was right there. And boy, Simmons, uncontested, had a layup, but he leaves it for Thibault.
That's when you know that the game is in your head. Ben Simmons, you gotta shoot that shot.
The play didn't just cost Philly points, it shattered trust. In the aftermath, Simmons faced heavy criticism from fans, the media, even teammates. Then came the holdout, the mental health conversations, the trade demand. Eventually, he was sent to Brooklyn in a blockbuster deal, but the fresh start didn't bring fresh results. Since joining the Nets, Simmons has struggled with injuries, inconsistency, and what appears to be a complete loss of confidence. The once dynamic point forward now looks like a shell of himself, hesitant, limited, and unsure. So what happened? Was it the pressure, the expectations, or was he never built to be a superstar in the first place? Ben Simmons' story isn't over, but right now it feels stuck in limbo, once viewed as the future of the league. Now, we're not even sure what his role is. After Simmons made waves as a jumbo-sized playmaker, the Sixers looked to pair him with a scoring guard in 2017, selecting Markelle Fultz with the top pick. He had it all: size, athleticism, shot creation, a smooth jumper, and playmaking instincts well beyond his years. Coming out of Washington, Fultz was the clear-cut #1 pick. No debate, no hesitation. The Sixers traded up to get him, believing he'd be the perfect backcourt partner for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But almost immediately, everything went sideways. A mysterious shoulder injury appeared out of nowhere. His mechanics, once smooth and fluid, suddenly looked broken. His confidence evaporated, and the more people tried to figure out what was wrong, the worse it seemed to get. Fultz played just 33 games in his first 2 seasons. The jump shot that once looked like a strength had become a punchline. The #1 pick, once seen as a future all-star, was now being labeled a bust. In 2019, Philly gave up. They traded him to Orlando for almost nothing, a quiet exit from a city that never got to see what he could really do. But in Orlando, something surprising happened. Fultz started over. No hype, no pressure, just the slow, quiet work of rebuilding his body and his game. And gradually, it worked. He became a steady starter, not a star, not the player he was projected to be, but a reliable, unselfish guard who could run an offense, play defense, and contribute on a nightly basis. And after everything he'd been through, the injury, the doubt, the mockery, that meant everything. Markelle Fultz may never live up to #1 pick expectations, but he earned something just as meaningful: respect. In a league that often gives up on players fast, he fought to stay in it, and that in itself is a win. While Fultz quietly rebuilt his game in Orlando, the 2018 draft raised the stakes again, as Phoenix passed on future superstars and selected DeAndre Ayton at number 1. They chose DeAndre Ayton, a 7-footer out of Arizona with a rare combination of size, touch, and mobility. Ayton looked like a throwback, a traditional center with modern tools, a walking double-double who could anchor the paint and run the floor. But just 2 picks later, the landscape shifted. Luka Doncic went 3rd, Trae Young went 5th, and suddenly, Ayton's selection would be judged not just on what he did, but on what Phoenix could have had. To be clear, Ayton's early production was solid. He averaged over 16 and 10 as a rookie, and by 2021, he played a key role in helping the Suns reach the NBA Finals. He protected the rim, cleaned up inside, and thrived in pick and rolls alongside Chris Paul and Devin Booker. But there was always something missing. Ayton never quite became the dominant two-way force many expected. His motor was inconsistent, his defensive effort came and went, and as the Suns' offense evolved into a perimeter-heavy attack, Ayton's role started to feel more like an afterthought. In 2022, he signed a max offer sheet with Indiana, which Phoenix matched, but the tension between player and franchise was obvious. By 2023, the Suns finally moved on, trading Ayton to the Portland Trail Blazers. Ayton got bought out by Portland in the 2025 offseason and subsequently signed a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. But the question remains, was he the right pick? Because when you look at Luka lighting up the league, when you watch Trae take over in the clutch, you can't help but wonder, what if DeAndre Ayton isn't a bust, but for Phoenix, passing on generational talent made him the face of one of the NBA's biggest what could have been stories. And to close out the decade, the 2019 draft brought one of the most anticipated prospects ever. With the first pick, New Orleans selected the human highlight reel, Zion Williamson, a once-in-a-generation athlete, 6 feet 6 inches, 285 pounds, moving like a guard and jumping out of the gym. He wasn't just the most hyped prospect since LeBron James, he was the future, and when Zion played, he delivered, averaging over 25 points per game on absurd efficiency, bullying defenders, living in the paint, and finishing through contact like it was nothing. He made the All-Star team in just his second season and looked unstoppable when healthy. But that's been the story, when healthy, because since entering the league, Zion has missed far more games than he's played. Knee issues, foot surgeries, hamstring problems, and behind it all, persistent questions about conditioning, commitment, and whether his body can handle his game. He's played in just over 100 games across 4 full seasons. That's not a setback, that's a pattern. Fans are frustrated, analysts are cautious, and even the Pelicans, the franchise that built around him, that seems stuck in a holding pattern. They know what he can be, they just don't know if they'll ever get it consistently. Yet through all the doubts, New Orleans still believes they haven't traded him, haven't bailed, because when Zion's locked in, he looks like a top 5 player in the league, a force of nature with no real comparison. But the clock is ticking. Zion's story isn't over, but if the next chapter doesn't include health, leadership, and growth, his career could go down as one of the greatest what-ifs the NBA has ever seen. From all-stars to afterthoughts, from buzzer beaters to injury reports, the number 1 picks of the 2010's gave us everything. Breakouts, busts, redemption stories, and a whole lot of what-ifs. But here's the real question. Who was the biggest surprise, and who had the most wasted potential? Drop your picks in the comments. I want to hear what you think, and if you enjoyed the ride, go ahead and like this video to help more fans find it. Subscribe for more NBA deep dives, because the next one might just change the way you look at the league. Appreciate you watching. See you in the next one.